Calling to order the Committee on Labor and Tourism. Today is Thursday, March 18, 2021, 9 a.m. We're in conference room 312 to hear a number of bills. Vice Chair, for our committee rules.
In order to allow as many people to testify as possible, there will be a 2-minute time limit per testifier. Please keep yourself muted and your video off while waiting to testify after your testimony is complete. The Zoom chat function will allow you to chat with the technical staff only. Please use the chat only for technical issues. If you're disconnected unexpectedly, you may attempt to rejoin the meeting. If disconnected while presenting testimony, you may be allowed to continue if time permits. Please note the House is not responsible for any bad internet connections on the testifier's end. In the event of a catastrophic network failure, it may be necessary to reschedule the hearing or schedule a meeting for decision-making. In that case, an appropriate notice will be posted. Please refrain from profanity or uncivil behavior. Such behavior may be grounds for removal from the hearing without the ability to rejoin.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Okay, first up, we have SB 793 SD1 relating to the minimum wage. It repeals the exemption of persons with disabilities from minimum wage requirements. First up to testify is Dainty Bartolos, State Council on Developmental Disabilities.
Thank you, Chair. Dainty Bartolos, Executive Administrator for Hawaii State Council on Developmental Disabilities. Thank you for this opportunity to provide testimony. We are in strong support of SB 793. Bottom line, it's a civil rights issue. It's discrimination to solely base somebody not being able to make minimum wage because of a disability. And for this reason, we're in strong support of this measure. We do ask that we make a correction to our written testimony. Yesterday and last night, we spent time talking to providers who support individuals with disabilities, such as Focused and Lanakila, and they asked that we please leave in on page 4 the sections 4 through 10, but instead change on line 6 and on line, excuse me, 6 and on line 8, it should be 1, 2, 3 at all times. So it's a ratio of 1 to 3. So we're maintaining an integrated employment site. So 1 person with a disabled to the 3 non-disabled, excuse me. So we just ask that we switch those numbers around. On line 6, so it reads then 1, 2, 3 at all times. And on line 8, this 1 to 3 ratio is to include all levels of employment. Thank you so much for this opportunity to provide testimony and support. Thank you. I'll be here if there's any questions.
Thank you. Next up is Ann Estacio from Department of Labor and Industrial Relations.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. We stand on our written testimony and are here for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Mitzi Higa from Hawaii State Teachers Association.
Aloha, good morning, Chair Onishi. In 2021, it's unacceptable that we allow disabled individuals to be paid a sub-minimum wage. Many of these individuals were once our special education students. This really, no one should be paid sub-minimum. Our minimum is low enough, and we have promised them an appropriate free education with a future of opportunities and potential. There are so many technology devices that can be used nowadays to help them become productive. They are productive in their own way, in their own right, in their own space. Please repeal the sub-minimum wage. It's not okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Brandon Young, National Federation of the Blind. Brandon, you there? Is he muted? Hello, Brandon, are you there? Okay, Brandon, let us know if you, or acknowledge us when you're able. Let's move on to the next testifier. Timothy R. Rankin. Not here. Renell Mole.
Oh, I'm here. Good morning, everybody. Can you guys hear
Good
me?
morning. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm in support of I'm in support of the well because sometimes I have when I was working at a bike shop. I was working at a bike shop. I couldn't. I was paying below the minimum wage. Um. So I don't know. It's. I was. I was. Uh, I don't know. It's a long story. But I'm in support of having the minimum wage increase, so that way everybody has equal pay.
Okay. Anything else you wanted to add?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your testimony. Next up, Flora Patton in support.
Okay, I'm here. Aloha, Representative Onishi. My name is Flora Patton. I go to Waipahu Aloha Clubhouse for 11 years, and I am also part of Hawaii Clubhouse Advocacy Coalition. I'm fully in support of SB 793 because I believe that disabled people have right to minimum wage. In 1984, I was at Kanalikila Rehab Craft Training Program. My hourly rate was 99 cents. I was very happy at that time. Now I'm involved in advocacy. I realize my ability or work at least minimum wage. Please support this SB 793. Thank you for reading my testimony. Flora Patton.
Thank you. Next up,
You are
Kyoki Wright in support. Mr. Wright, we're not able to hear you.
Hi. Hi, I'm Soul Ray Duncan. Soul Ray.
Give your
No, I
testimony.
think that
No, they can
they
hear you.
asked me.
Give your testimony.
We cannot hear you again. Hi, Mr. Wright, we couldn't hear your testimony.
It keeps going off. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
there you go. We can hear you now.
Aloha, Representative Onishi. My name is Kyoki Wright. I go to Koalau Clubhouse, part of the Hawaii Clubhouse Advocacy Coalition. I am in support of Senate Bill 793. Being a disabled peer myself, I would like to look for better advantages for other consumers in terms of vocational options for them to do things in the community that would be worthwhile. I believe that with the skills of the mental health consumers within community, we could be employed. Working is a big goal for all consumers. I have witnessed my peers in a class with court offenses where they discuss capabilities of employment. My peers responded to being questioned about what they have learned to get off conditional release. They are capable and willing to take the first steps to obtain employment. Vocational programs are able to identify if working will be therapeutic for a person's recovery. I believe there are a good variety of jobs. However, to be therapeutic pay should be adequate as cost of living is high. This is why I am in support of SB 793. Please support this bill. Mahalo for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Next up, Derwin Teranishi.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Teranishi, and I'm an advocate of the Hawaii Clubhouse Coalition, Advocacy Coalition, and I'm in support of the bill SB 793 SD1. So I believe that the pay for mental health disabled individuals should not be based on the person's incapabilities, but instead should reflect the cost of living and equality across the board. The individual that struggles with mental health issues should be given a chance to be properly trained as needed. And during the probation period, a decision can be can be further made for job performance or needs to accomplish that goal. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Stephen Hanohano. Not here. Next up would be Sol Ray Duncan.
Hi, I'm Sol Ray Duncan. Sol Ray, I'm a member of the Self Advocacy Advisory Council. I support House Bill 793 because it will give equal pay to everyone and with everyone with disabilities. And it would end discrimination for people with disabilities based on pay. This would put equal pay on par with everyone else.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan.
Thank you, Rep. Onishi.
Okay, next up is Pili Teo.
Hi, good morning. My name is Pili Till. I am an individual intelligent and developmental disability. I am writing today in a strong support for all individual disability. These stretch people with equal rights. Respect all. I stand for disability rights. And safety, community exceptions, and independent living and quality of life. Who achieve participation in social equal access to education and employment. I quote that the job I was supporting my concern about how could I, like others, coworkers, some minimum wage. I have been trying to have a better equal respect because I am individual disabled person. My benefit income minimum wage, it was giving less than another coworkers. I was paid some minimum wage at a job on oil for 5 years. I left after 3 years of work because of what's not giving a pay increase even though I was working hard to get paid minimum wage like the coworkers receive. The minimum wage the coworkers were receiving was $7.95 to $9.75 total on up. As an individual developmental disability is received 325 to 625 minimum wage of my needs. To me, it's just a discrimination and unfairly treated, and not respectfully to my part of being as an individual developmental disability. How could anyone treat those who are disabled and couldn't perform equally like all the staff and coworkers as in job site?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, that's gonna be- Okay, is Timothy Rankin there? Do you want to testify? Okay,
Tim's here.
Hi.
okay, you can go ahead.
Did you already give your testimony?
I think I gave my testimony already earlier.
Renell?
Hi, my name is Janelle Mole. I am in strong support of SB 793. It is sense fair that I could be paid less because we think I will be slow because I have a disability. That sense true. I am a hard worker. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Members, those are all the online testifiers we have. We have a number of organizations and individuals in support. Do you have any questions? Okay, seeing that there are none, let's move on to the next bill. It is SB 1069 ST2 related to public employment cost items. It appropriates and authorizes funds for collective bargaining cost items for the members of Unit 1 and their excluded counterparts, including the cost of salary adjustments negotiated between the state and the bargaining unit representatives for fiscal biennium 2021 to 2023. First up, we have Dan Kochi, United Public Workers.
Good morning, Chair Onishi, Vice Chair Sayama, and members of the committee. Dan Kochi with United Public Workers. We will stand on our written testimony in strong support of SB 1069, and just want to say thank you to the legislature for continuing to move these funding vehicle bills along. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, we also have a testimony in support from Craig Harai, Department of Budget and Finance, Calbert Young, University of Hawaii, and Dr. Linda Rosen, CEO, Hawaii Health Systems Corporation. Members, any questions? Okay, if not, we're moving on to the next bill. So members, there are a number of collective bargaining vehicles that we're going to move today. And so I'll be reading the bill number and the unit it pertains to, and then going through the testimony, just to speed things up a little bit. So the next bill is SB 1070 SD2. This is for Unit 2. Here to testify is Randy Pereira, Hawaii Government Employees Association.
Hi, good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Michelle Kurihara Klein on behalf of the Hawaii Government Employees Association and our Executive Director, Randy Pereira. HGEA represents now 9 units, but 8 of our units are tied to the state budget. I'd like to offer strong support and stand on our written testimony for all of the units that HGEA represents, which are covered in Senate Bills 1070, 1071, 1072, 1074, 1076, 1077, 1080, and 1081. These, just a note that all of the bills are blank vehicle bills in case HGEA is able to reach an agreement with the employer for the next contract period. I would be happy to answer any questions that the committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, that's all the online testimony we have. We also have Craig Hirai, Department of Budget and Finance with comments, Calbert Young, University of Hawaii in support, and Linda Rosen, CEO, Hawaii Health Systems Corporation in support. Members, do you have any questions? Okay, if not, we're moving on to the next bill, SB 1071 SD2. This relates to Unit 3. There are no online testifiers. We have testimony and support from Craig Hirai, Department of Budget and Finance, Calbert Young, University of Hawaii, Randy Pereira, Hawaii Government Employees Association, and Dr. Linda Rosen, CEO, Hawaii Health Systems Corporation. So there's nobody here to test or to answer questions. We'll move on to the next bill, which is 1072 SD2. This pertains to Unit 4. Again, we don't have anybody here to testify. We have the same testimony submitted by the same people in support. Moving on to the next bill, 1073, which relates to Unit 5. We have Mitzi Higa from Hawaii State Teachers Association in support.
Good morning again, Chair Onishi. Mitzi Higa speaking on behalf of Corey Rosenlee, President of Hawaii State Teachers Association. We stand on our written testimony and strong support and are available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have written testimony from Craig Hirai, Department of Budget and Finance in support. Members, any questions? Okay, if not, we're moving on to the next bill, 1074 SD2, which deals with Unit 6. We don't have any online testifiers. We have written testimony and support from Craig Hirai, Department of Budget and Finance, and Randy Pereira, Hawaii Government Employees Association. Moving on to the next bill, 1075 SD2. It relates to Unit 7. We don't have any testifiers for this bill. Online testifiers. We have written testimony from Craig Hirai, Department of Budget and Finance, Calbert Young, University of Hawaii, and Christian Fenn, University of Hawaii Professional Assembly, all in support. Moving on to SB 1076 SD2 relating to Unit 8. Again, nobody here for online testimony. We have written testimony in support from Craig Hirai, Department of Budget and Finance, Calbert Young, University of Hawaii, and Randy Pereira, Hawaii Government Employees Association. Moving on to the next bill, SB 1077, SD2. This relates to Unit 9. We have no online testifiers. We have written testimony in support from Craig Hirai, Calbert Young, Randy Pereira, and Dr. Linda Rosen, HHSC. Moving on to the next bill, 1078, dealing with Unit 10. We have Dan Kochi, Hawaii Public Workers in support.
Good morning again, Chair. Sorry, we stand on our written testimony on strong support as well on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, we also have written testimony in support from Craig Hirai, Calbert Young, and Dr. Linda Rosen. Members, any questions for UPW? Okay, if there are none, we're moving on to SB 1079 SD2. This pertains to Unit 11. We have no one here to testify online. We have written testimony in support from Craig Hirai, Department of Budget and Finance, and Celeste Nip, the Hawaii Firefighters Association. Moving on to the next bill, SB 1080, SD2. This relates to Unit 13. We have nobody here to testify online. We have written testimony in support from Craig Hirai, Randy Pereira, and Dr. Linda Rosen. Moving on to the next bill, SB 1081, relating to Unit 14. We have nobody here online to testify online. Written testimony in support from Craig Hirai and Randy Pereira. Okay, moving on to the next measure. The next two measures are resolutions. We have HCR 558 and HR 47. It's urging the United States Congress and President Joseph R. Biden to enact the Protecting the Right to Organize Act. Members, here to testify is Malcolm Percassi Jr.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Malcolm Barkarsi Jr. on behalf of Associated Builders and Contractors. We stand on our written testimony in opposition and ask that the House do not promulgate this resolution, which will hurt local small businesses and workers who are recovering from this pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have Dan Kochi, United Public Workers.
Good morning again, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Dan Kochi with UPW will stand on our written testimony in support of these resolutions and thank the committee for hearing them, as well as thanking our Hawaii congressional delegation for sponsoring the House and Senate versions. Mahalo.
Thank you. Members, that's all the online testimony we have. We have written testimony in support from Tyler De Los Santos Tam, Bricklayers Union Local 1, Susan Ignacio, ILW Local 142, Michael Golohuch Jr., LGBT Caucus of the Democratic Party of Hawaii, Lorna Wu, IUPAT, District Council 50, Randy Pereira, Hawaii Government Employees Association, Leroy Chincio, IBEW 1260, Hawaii State AFL-CIO, Daniel Paul Ross, Hawaii Nurses Association, OPEIU Local 50, Mike Golohuch Sr., and Pride at Work Hawaii. Members, do you have any questions? Okay, if there are none, let's move on to the next resolution. It's HCR 104, HR 86, requesting the Director of Labor and Industrial Relations to convene a task force to study, design, and develop a paid family leave pilot program. First up to testify is Director Estacio, Department of Labor and Industrial Relations.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. The department stands on its written testimony with comments. We're here for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Nicole Wu, Hawaii Children's Action Network speaks.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Thanks for this opportunity to stand on my written testimony in support of paid family leave. In our testimony, we refer to a comprehensive 2017 study of Hawaii and the best way to implement a paid family leave program here. So we just want to make sure if this passes that the legislature and the task force would be aware of it as a very important resource as we make a decision on implementing paid family leave here. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, that's all the online testifiers we have. We also have written testimony from Heather Kimball, Pride at Work Hawaii, Michael Goluch, Yonghi Overly, Laurie Field with Planned Parenthood, Randy Pereira, Hawaii Government Employees Association, Jacqueline Murakami, Hawaii Public Health Institute, Patricia Billick, Breastfeeding Hawaii. They're all in support. And we have Myung Oh, Chamber of Commerce of Hawaii, and the Society for Human Resource Management Hawaii with comments. Members, are there any questions? Okay, if there are none, we're going to recess for decision making. Okay, reconvening the Committee on Labor and Tourism for decision-making. On the first bill, SB 793 SD1, after hearing the testimony made by the State Council on Developmental Disabilities, we'll be amending the bill to switch the ratio that was described on page 4, lines 5 to 10, so that it would now reflect a 1-to-3 disabled to non-disabled ratio. Additionally, and for consistency purposes, the bill makes reference to persons with disabilities and individuals with disabilities. We'll be changing the terminology so that they're all consistent. All references to persons with disabilities will be changed to individuals with disabilities. We are also going to be inserting an effective date of December 25th, 2040, and making technical amendments for clarity, consistency, and style. Members, questions? Okay, if not, Vice Chair for the vote.
Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 793 SD1 with amendments. Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Belatti.
Aye.
Representative Holt.
Aye.
Representative Kobayashi.
Aye.
Representative Quinlan, excused. Representative Takayama.
Aye.
Representative Okimoto.
Aye.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. The next bill, SB 1069 SD2. We're going to pass that out as is.
The chair's recommendation is to pass SB 1069 SD2 as is, noting those excused. Any members present voting no, voting with reservations. Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. On SB 1070 SD2, we'll be making a few technical amendments for consistency, clarity, and style. Members, questions? Okay, if not, Vice Chair for the vote.
Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 1070 SD2 with amendments. Knowing those excused, any members present voting no, with reservations. Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next bill, SB 1071 SD2, passing that out as is. Members, questions? Okay, Vice Chair for the vote.
Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 1071 SD2 as is, noting those excused. Any members present voting no, with reservations. Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next bill, SB 1072 SD2, also passing that out as is.
Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 1072 SD2 as is, noting those excused. Any members present voting no, with reservations. Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, SB 1073 SD2, passing it out as is. Members, questions? Okay, Vice Chair for the vote.
The Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 1073 SD2 as is, noting those excused. Any members present voting no, with reservations. Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, SB 1074 SD2, passing it out as is. Members, questions? Vice Chair for the vote.
Chair's recommendation is pass SB 1074 as is, 1074 SD2 as is, noting those excused. Any members present voting no, with reservations. Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
The next bill is SB 1075 SD2, passing it out as is. Members, questions? Vice Chair for the vote.
Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 1075 SD2 as is, noting those excused. Any members present voting no, with reservations. Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next bill, SB 1076 SD2, passing that bill out as is. Members, questions? Vice Chair for the vote.
Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 1076 SD2 as is, noting those excused. Any members present voting no, with reservations. Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next bill, SB 1077 SD2, passing this bill out as is. Members, questions? Okay, Vice Chair for the vote.
Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 1077 SD2 as is, noting those excused. Any members present voting no, with reservations. Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Next bill, SB 1078 SD2, passing this bill out as is. Members, questions? Vice Chair for the vote.
Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 1078 SD2 as is, noting those excused. Any members present voting no, with reservations. Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next bill, SB 1079 SD2, passing this bill out as is. Members, questions? Vice Chair for the vote.
Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 1079 SD2 as is, noting those excused. Any members present voting no with the reservations? Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. The next bill is SB 1080 SD2, passing this bill out as is. Members, questions? Vice Chair for the vote.
Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 1080 SD2 as is, noting those excused. Any members present voting no with the reservations? Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next bill is SB 1081 SD2, passing this bill out as is. Members, questions? Not. Vice Chair for the vote.
Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 1081 SD2 as is, noting those excused. Any members present voting no with reservations? Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, next is HCR 58, HR 47. We'll be making a few technical amendments needed for clarity, consistency, and style. Members, questions? If not, Vice Chair for the vote.
Chair's recommendation is to pass HCR 558 with amendments, knowing those excused. Any members present voting with reservations? Voting no. No vote for Representative Okimoto. Any others voting no? Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
The next is HCR 104, HR 86. Okay, we'll be adding language to allow the task force to develop their own goals and objectives for the PFL pilot program, as well as to appoint a chairperson from the members within the task force. And we'll be adding a sunset date for the working group of January 31st, 2023. Members, any questions? Okay, if not, Vice Chair for the vote.
Chair's recommendation is to pass HCR 104 with amendments, knowing those excused. Any members present voting no with reservations? Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Going back to HR 47. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments, noting those excused. Any members present voting no. Representative Okimoto, this is same as HCR 58. Thank you. Any others voting no with reservations? Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you.
And finally, with HR 86, this is related to HCR 104. Recommendation is to pass with amendments, noting those excused. Any members present voting no with reservations? Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Thank you, members, and thank you those in the public that came to testify. We are adjourned.